Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you are in the world, welcome back to The Caring Economy with me, Toby Usnik. Today's a super fun one for me because I have my pal of many years, Crawford Sherman. Crawford is the co-founder of PPL Hospitality. It's a new firm. It's a unique firm in the hospitality space. He's also a career executive in the hospitality industry, having worked at such marvelous properties as the storied Pierre Hotel here in New York, the Manuelani on the main Big Island, rather, of Hawaii, Parrot Key and Turks and Caicos, and more recently, the Line Hotel in Washington, D.C. Welcome to The Caring Economy, Crawford Sherman.
Toby, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
You know, Crawford, we've known each other through years because my husband, Harlan, and you go back even decades longer. When you, I think, were at the Big Island, that must have been, what, the 80s?
Yes, it was late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. So I just have always thought so highly of you. And one thing that's always struck me about you is your sense of service. And I believe, as I've written about in The Caring Economy, that we're all here to serve, that's the highest purpose. And so how brands do that, how they execute on that is of high interest to me and my audience. I wanted to get your take on the concept of service as it relates to hospitality. Is it a fair thing to say that good hospitality is good business?
Definitely, good hospitality is definitely good business, but serving has changed in the hospitality industry, and particularly recently. And this is the reason that we founded PPL. There has to be a change in the way that companies in the hospitality industry treat their employees. And it's almost as though these hotel companies meet to make sure that they are serving the needs of the employees as well as the travelers and the guests.
Mm-hmm. I would have thought that through unions and just competitive professional HR departments that at least the bigger chains were already doing that, but it sounds like it's not the case.
The style of management in most hotels these days is the same style of management that has been in place for decades, and it's not employee centric, and we need to change that. The hospitality industry has lost literally millions of employees over the last year and a half, and it's going to be very difficult to persuade them back into the hospitality industry, which is a tough industry. We have to realize that the people who stand behind the front desk, or people who have delivering room service, people opening the front door, they've been standing there for up to 8 hours a day working and looking after multiple people and their challenges and everything. And so we as management have to change the way that we have been managing properties. And that's what PPL has set out to do.
Could you give our listeners some examples or an example of what that might look like, how it might be different for a PPL property versus, say, a Hilton property?
PPL is employee focused and actually employee owned. The management company is owned by the employees, and our style of management is different. Most management is top down. We've reversed that, and we are empowering the employees to manage. We will give them the tools, we will empower them, we will train them, and they will manage the operation, and we will teach them the financial intricacies of running a property.
How do you jumpstart that? You're newly launched the PPL, and we're still in the pandemic. Do you put out a help wanted ad? Do you go to new networks of people? Are there recruiters who specialize? How's it work in the hospitality industry?
With PPL, we are going to start in Washington, D.C. We're a D.C.-based company. We know a lot of people here. We know that when word gets out that there is an employee-focused, employee-based company like PPL, this will be very attractive to employees. Employees are very smart, and these days, to get them to come back to the industry, we're going to have to offer them more than a paycheck. We're going to have to offer them participation in the management of the business. And we're going to have to reward them with profit sharing, but more, we're going to have to reward them with a meaningful job, a job that they feel they are participating in making the hotel and the company a better entity.
So it sounds a little bit, Crawford, chicken and egg to me. Does the partner hotel or the hotel, the contracts with you come first, or the employees, or I guess you're taking a two-prong approach to both finding talent, but also finding properties to manage?
It's a two-prong approach, absolutely. The properties in a lot of cities, again, have been operated in the same manner for decades. And we've lost a lot of people who are reluctant to come back into the industry because they found meaningful jobs in other industries, or they have found jobs which they feel are more secure than the hospitality industry. And we have to entice them back with more than what we have been doing in the past several decades.
You've grown up in the industry. You have both been formally educated in hospitality, and you've been a more fortunate person to have been exposed to it as a young person because of your family and travels. Do you feel that it's something that's learned, or something that is inherent, this ability to serve and do it with sincerity?
I think we all have a little grain of serving in us. And when we have our best friend come and stay with us, we make sure that there's something nice to eat, and there's something nice to drink in our home, and there's a nice bed or a nice couch to sleep on. And so we have that ingrained into us already. And what we do in the hospitality industry is we find that grain, and we train it, and we expand that grain, and we find that talent in you to look after people. And the best training is not necessarily all done in a classroom. It's shadowing. It's taking a new employee and pairing them up with an exceptional employee, and watching kind of the sponge effect start, where they begin to soak in the talent of this exceptional employee.
I'm thinking about different cultures, because you've lived and worked around the world. You've managed properties around the world. Are there any unique qualities of certain cultures, and then consistent qualities across cultures? For example, I've always been impressed in Southeast Asia at the quality of service and the pride that people take in their work. And I don't know if it's a safe generalization or not.
I found that same pride all over the world. And I find that same pride in every type of person throughout the world. The key is bringing that ingredient out of them, and to give them training and understanding. Gone are the days when you say, you do this and you do that. You have to explain why, and you have to explain the benefit to the guest, and you have to explain the benefit to the employee. And in PPL, we will have an extensive training program. And our training program is just not on hotel management, which is key to the success of PPL, but we also want to expand it to personal finance. So, which is very much lacking that education in the hotel industry. And so we will expand our training beyond hotel. It's amazing how many hotel workers do not have bank accounts or savings accounts. And with the additional income that PPL will generate, we want to ensure that they have the tools to invest it and to grow their American dream.
Now, see, I think that's very cool, Crawford, because traditionally I would think a hotel employer might give employees a holiday Christmas party, bars open, have some food, and that's your perk for the year. But this approach to me sounds more respectful and holistic, because you're saying we value you. We want you and your families to be sustained, healthy, happy. And here's how one way we can help you, right? We can help you with the personal finance so that you're not living paycheck to paycheck. Am I interpreting that correctly?
You're interpreting it exactly as it is. And with the way PPL is set up, as the managing director of the company, I have two groups of people I'm going to have to report to. One of them is, of course, the investor, and the other is the employee. And they're both aligned because they're both after the same thing, which is service and profit. And good service equals profit. And so if I throw a Christmas party and I throw a lavish one, both entities, particularly the employees, are going to go, was that really necessary? Or could that money go to something better?
Mm-hmm. Very clever. I'm also thinking we had recently here on the Caring Economy, April Guess, who is the managing director of the Culinary Institute of America's campus in San Antonio. And they're very involved, particularly in the secondary schools in the public school district there, in training and grooming young people for careers in food and beverage hospitality industry. But they, I believe, take that kind of holistic approach, because people come at the industry with different views, different expectations. You have, I think at least two food networks now. It's people can be drawn into careers for what looks attractive on TV, but the reality is just not that. So it was that the case with you at the Pierre, I believe it was, all those years ago?
Yes. I was very well looked after by employees there who taught me the industry, and I'm very grateful to them. And that's what happens in the hotel industry. We take people who have never been in the industry or have never worked before, and we teach them a trade. And it starts off very basically, and then we add experience, which is the best teacher in the world. We encourage some classrooms, some courses from community colleges or from universities, but we develop people. And that's what the hotel industry is about. Going forwards, and this is what we're doing with PPL, is we're taking it to the next step. And not only are we training employees, but we're also empowering them. And we are teaching them management skills to manage the operation and to manage the finance of the property, knowing how much things cost when we buy them and how that affects the bottom line and how we can better look after the guests. It's almost like giving the employees ownership.
Well, when you talk about ownership or profit sharing, Crawford, I wonder, is this a first for the hospitality industry, or has it been done before?
It has been done before, not widely. And hotels have been owned by real estate companies primarily and real estate investors. And the profit has been the number one focus. Mm-hmm. Things have changed. Things have definitely changed in the last year and a half. And people are asking okay, I'm going to work. Why am I going to work? What is the purpose of my work? Why should I join your company? And I want more than just a paycheck. I want a reason. I'm prepared to work hard. I'm prepared to give at least 8 hours of my life to you 5 days a week. But I also want some rewards for my hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what PPL has recognized. We recognized this even before the pandemic. And this is what we are focused on, is giving hotel workers a purpose, an understanding, and empowering them.
Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, again, today on The Caring Economy, we have Crawford Sherman, who is the co-founder of PPL Hospitality, what I would describe as a new age hotel property management company, but also a veteran executive in the industry, having worked in countless name brand, fantastic hotels like the Pierre in New York and Parrot Key and Turks and Caicos. Crawford, I wonder about the bigger chains that you've worked with, and could they really successfully do this approach that you're describing? Because their scale, I think, almost prohibits them from really being community oriented and engaged.
It's going to be very hard for them, and not impossible, but it's going to be very hard for them.
Mm-hmm.
We're taking a fresh approach with a startup, and it's an easier approach because we're starting with a clean slate, a blank blackboard, whatever you would like to say. And we're starting with the focus of the employee.
Mm-hmm.
These companies, these larger companies, that has not been the focus. So not only are they going to have to change their mindset, they're going to have to change their operation, and they're going to have to go back to their investors and the owners of their various properties and explain to them this new style of management, which I hope they do. PPL should not be the only hospitality company in the market that's focused on the employee.
But would PPL take on a chunk of business from, say, Hilton or Marriott, or you have to have it all?
We would be open to reflagging any property that an investor or a hotel owner who recognizes the merits of PPL and realizes that this is a new way of going forward, managing their property, and would like to make that change.
Cool. And also with the regard to the employees, are you creating a separate, say an academy or an institute that one can come to you now and start training, or does the hotel contract have to come in first?
First, we'll need the property. Mm-hmm. And we have, as we're going to be a Washington, D.C. based company, we already have a roster of employees that want to join us. We have a roster of employees who are already trained, get the concept, and would be ready to go from day one. Mm-hmm. And we want to take those employees and train them up so that they will go on with PPL to other properties in management, senior management positions, and perpetuate PPL hospitality.
So tell our listeners, Crawford, where to find you on social media, and then I have a follow-up question.
PPL-hospitality.com.
Okay.
That's the best way to reach out to us.
Great. And the follow-up is, do you have a target list of properties or corporations that you're going after, and are they Washington, D.C. centric?
To start with in Washington, but our goal is to be throughout the United States, in every major city in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Because I would imagine there are a lot of hotels that are just stumbling right now that could be turned around by your management company.
Absolutely. There are hotels out there, and there are employees waiting for a new a new energy. And this is what PPL will provide. It's an incentive for employees. It's an incentive for investors because, again, it aligns the two of them. Both want to see and experience profit. And when you align those two entities together, you'll have a very successful operation.
Mm-hmm. I have to do a shout out for our younger listeners who are thinking about their careers. You and I have talked about this before, but I would like to think that receptionist Stevie Budd from Schitt's Creek has made the hospitality industry appealing to the next generation of kids. She's just awesome. And I wonder if you would agree with that assessment, and if there's something to be made of that.
The hospitality industry, and I like the word awesome, it really is awesome. You meet an incredible group of people on both sides of the counter. Mm-hmm. You have the opportunity to travel and experience, and you join a unique group of people. And it's almost like a sisterhood, a brotherhood, whatever you want to call it. Hoteliers are a very tightly knit community, and we look after each other. Mm-hmm. We're very into each other's jobs. And it doesn't matter what type of hospitality that you're in, whether you're restaurants, whether you're hotels, whether you're motels. If you're in the industry and you say to a fellow hotel person, "Oh, I'm in the hotel business," there's an immediate light up of the eyes, and a conversation begins immediately.
That sounds very warm and familial. It also could sound clubby. I wonder, in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, all that's going on in the world, more than ever, we're seeing how much more work we need to do as a society around being an inclusive, more equitable society. I know that that's part of the genesis of PPL, but I wonder if you might give our listeners, Crawford, a sense of the industry writ large and how well it has done or is doing or could do around being more inclusive of disabled people, Black people, transgender people, vets, fill in the blank.
It could be better. There's no question about it. We are a pretty inclusive industry. What we have not been particularly good at, but we are getting better at, is the promotion of minorities into senior management positions. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to focus a little bit more on. Mm-hmm. And the pay for people in our industry, we're not the most well-paid industry out there, and we need to address that as well.
Let's let that. Thanks. Sorry about that. Is the PPL team diverse?
Very much so. Certainly the founders are, mm-hmm. And we hope to bring on a few more founders that will continue the diversity. We take like-minded people whose number one goal is the improvement of employees in our industry. Mm-hmm. And that's what PPL is centered on.
Got it. So now, Crawford, let's take our listeners down a fun little road of romping on the bold-faced names that you've had stay at your properties, the murders and mysteries that have happened. I know you're too discreet to share any of this, but surely there must be some revelatory things you want to share with our listeners about the life of someone in hospitality and what they see that the average customer never really gets to know. Have you had bodies? Have you had battles? Have you had, I don't know, anything tawdry?
Toby, you know us hoteliers. We're we're more discreet than a Swiss banker. And just like we wouldn't tell about your hotel stays, we're not going to tell about anybody else's hotel stay.
Point take, I can remember one time we were with you in Parrot Key, and there's, we always call him the doctor. We don't use his name, but couldn't get a more major Hollywood star. And the few times I was there and crossed paths, I was so impressed with how present, elegant he and his family were. Not spoiled bad boys, so to speak. I guess you see it all.
I do, and the doctor was a wonderful example. He treated the employees very, very well. And to me, I look at celebrities and I judge their star power by the way that they treat the employees. And to me, that's what makes a star a star.
Mm-hmm. Given that vast experience that you have and the launch of PPL, I wonder if you and Bartek might actually put together a podcast of your own, or have some kind of regular dialogue to both present inspiration and opportunities to those aspiring hospitality industry employees, but also to showcase for the investment community just what you guys are up to, because I really do think you are pivoting from the darkness of COVID. You're pivoting toward a brighter future, a more inclusive future, which is, in my estimation, exactly where we need to go now. I mean, businesses can't fake it anymore. They have to genuinely care about their communities, show up, and it's got to be done in a more intimate, bespoke way. It can't be a broadcast email from corporate. That's not going to get people across the finish line, I don't think.
It's not. And there are a lot of savvy investors out there. There are a lot of savvy employees out there. I would rank them probably neck and neck. And what we want to do with PPL Hospitality is that we want to show that there is a way for hotel companies, for investors, and for employees all to benefit, all to look after each other. And we want to start by provoking a conversation and then action on building a better hospitality world out there.
Crawford, I've seen you do that very approach in every property I've seen you manage. More recently at the Line Hotel near DuPont Circle in Washington, which is just a fantastic transformed property. Our mutual friend Andrew Zobler was the force behind that. But I was struck at how of the community the property was, and how much of that I think goes back to you not just talking the talk, but actually delivering on that. Is that the kind of hotel one would experience if it's a PPL property going forward, or what would one experience going into one of your hotels?
Absolutely. The Line hired people, a majority of them who have never been in the hospitality industry. We were above 80% minority. We took, because there was at that time a shortage of employees in the Washington, D.C. district, we interviewed people from all types of life. I was in the park one day in front of the hotel talking to an individual, and he told me nobody would give him a job. He was an older man, and nobody would give him a job. I said, well, if you show up every day and you work hard, I'll give you a job. And he said, I'll do that. It got to the point where he would show up an hour before work, 7 days a week. And I had to explain to him that, no, it doesn't kind of work that way. And, give people an opportunity and give them a meaningful job where they feel proud and they feel that they participate in. They'll take it and they will just do excellent things with it.
I wonder where that person is now. Do you have any idea?
He's still hard at work at the Line DC.
There you go. Well, that's a true testament to you and I think the vision of PPL. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to thank Crawford Sherman, who's the co-founder of PPL Hospitality. if you're either looking to get into the industry or you want to invest in it, it's a business with purpose, and I would encourage you to follow up with Crawford directly. Crawford, thank you so much. Any final thoughts from you on business and society?
It's going to be better out there. Just not in the hospitality industry, but in other industries, this conversation is happening. People are focused on the employees. We at PPL, as I said, want to provoke this conversation and then action it. And we're very grateful to you, Toby, for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you, Crawford. Come back after launch and we'll take a 2.0.